That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Together, the directorial debut of Michael Shanks, which premiered at the 2025 Sundance Film Festival. Neon is releasing it for general consumption on July 30th, 2025.
Directorial debut.
Yes.
It's very impressive. What is Together about? A struggling couple mysteriously begins to fuse into one being, symbolizing toxic codependency as their emotional and physical boundaries grotesquely collapse. What is your pull quote?
Although its concept plummets to somewhat illogical conclusions and its metaphorical intentions are often too literal, Together is an interesting examination of the sometimes violent confrontation with codependence experienced in long-term relationships.
Mine. Together is a thought-provoking exploration of love, rendered through a lens of grotesque intimacy and unsettling transformation. I did enjoy this film.
I did as well. I think if there is a sequel, it should be called Together Again.
Janet. The story is very simple. There's a couple played by Dave Franco and Alison Brie.
Tim and Millie, who of course,
I believe are married in real life.
Yeah, and we've seen them together in previous efforts, such as The Rental.
Oh, that's right. So Alison Brie's character is a teacher, and Dave Franco's character is an aspiring musician, and they live in New York, I believe, in the city. And when we meet them, they're throwing like a going away party because Alison Brie has accepted a job in a more like rural area. Remote. To pursue her career as a teacher. So they get there, and we see from the opening of the film 2 dogs drink from a pond, and then those dogs, how would you describe?
They conjoin.
They conjoin.
Which is a scene very reminiscent of a dog kennel moment in John Carpenter's The Thing.
So, of course, this couple Dave Franco's character ends up drinking from the pond.
Yeah, they go hiking and get lost in a rainstorm and find said pond.
And the bulk of the film is them sort of being like uncontrollably drawn to each other. And it's precipitated by Dave Franco, who drank from the pond. But then he exchanges fluids with Alison Brie's character at a point. And now she is feeling this uncontrollable magnetism that reads like, toxic codependency.
Yes.
And of course, it's body horror. Things get a little gruesome. And ultimately, they conjoin. The end.
They become one being.
I was impressed by the story.
Yeah.
Which is written by the director?
Yes.
Yeah. I think the story is really interesting. I really like the cinematography.
Jermaine McMicking, which we've reviewed several films he's lensed, including Love Me, starring Kristen Stewart and Stephen Yeun, and Nitram, with Caleb Landry-Jones by Justin Kurtzel. I also really like a Vincent Cassel film he lensed called Partisan, if you've never seen that. And
I like the visual effects.
Yeah, it clearly had some kind of a budget. I think that it might be missing an emotional component that would have really clinched it for me and made me kind of overlook some of the ambiguities that are on purpose. But I think it opens doors that it doesn't need to.
I agree. In fact, I think one plot point in particular could have been more vague or eliminated completely. And that is, why did these things conjoin? There's this pond that I guess if creatures drink from, they will be drawn to each other. But we find out that there's some sort of cult that used to operate in that region. And they had like a chapel.
That I guess was over... sitting atop the pond. It has since sunken into the earth.
But has since sunken in, so now it's part of the... we're like in some underground cave where you see the pews and the artwork from the church. How do we learn this? Alison Brie's character has a co-worker named Jamie.
Played by Damon Herriman.
And the minute we meet him, he seems a little too friendly and... I found him to be a little off. He also read as gay to me, which his character is, we find out much later. But he was a part of this cult, and they performed these rituals, and he references some Plato. Yeah, well,
he's referencing Plato, but I think what the cave, Plato's allegory of the cave, right? Where, because if this is all about relationships and people were constantly miscommunicating because you only are getting a certain part of the information, that's like the allegory of the cave, where we're only seeing the shadows and not the actual images making them. And so when they first drink the water in the cave, which was also giving me kind of an Adam and Eve vibe, right? Like he partakes in something that he knows he shouldn't, i.e. drinking from still water in the wild.
Right.
Like, dude, you're going to get something. But you see, he has a nightmare while they stay overnight in that cave, and he's become part of the environment. So it's almost like the church, everything that is in contact with this water, it becomes one. It's all about becoming one.
Yeah.
And then Damon Herriman's character also references this mythology about how originally humans had 4 legs and 4 arms, and Zeus was
2 heads
and was afraid of our power, and so split us in 2, which of course is the opening song's content from Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Well, and that artwork is present in the chapel that is now underground.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like that plot point made me question it more than I wanted to.
We were overthinking it because ultimately it doesn't really matter. And then it makes you think things like, okay, so Jamie was part of this cult and he lives out in the woods by where they are. And it's a very small town where ostensibly everybody knows everybody's business. So are there any other surviving cult members?
So the film actually opens, we meet the dogs because there's a search party for a missing couple. Mm-hmm. And ultimately we find out that that couple went missing in the same spot where this pond was, like this underground pond. So we can presume that they're missing from this, and then it's confirmed because in the end, Dave Franco's character goes back to that pond trying to get answers, and he sees like a conjoined monster.
Which is supposed to be representative of what happens if the ritual isn't entirely completed?
Right. So I just feel like all of that, I didn't need any of that. I would have been totally satisfied had we just seen 2 dogs drink from a pond and conjoin, and then we see these 2 fools drink from this still water and underground pond, and weird things start happening.
I almost wish it was kind of like the Wicker Man, that there's some kind of specific reason that troubled couples are, it's almost like a subconscious mecca.
So it's clear that they're having problems, that maybe Alison Brie's character thinks Dave Franco resents her because she's kind of been the driving force in their relationship with her career and making bigger decisions, like them leaving their friend group to go foster her career. He may also come across as like maybe somewhat of a loser because we understand he's 35 and still chasing this dream of being like a musician. In fact, when they first moved to their new home in this remote area, he accepts an audition with some friends to go on tour with them as their drummer, I believe.
One of whom is her younger brother.
Right. So, there's that tension between them. Another plot point that I feel like confused me a little bit is that it's made very clear that they haven't had sex in a while. And it's Alison Brie's character who's sharing that with her best friend.
Kath, played by Mia Morrissey.
So there's that in the background she's very preoccupied with that. And that he seems, it's not really explained except maybe he's just stressed, or he doesn't come across as like unattracted to her. He just seems uninterested in it. Maybe
a mixture of feeling emasculated, being bored.
Something like that. Yeah. So my first sort of confusion is, okay, so because we didn't mention when the 2 join, the resulting person looks like a mix of the 2, who I actually thought looked like Tig Notaro.
Yeah, I think we need to get into that because it's revealed ultimately, as we said, that Damon Herriman was part of this, and there's a reference that he had a husband, not sure what happened to him, even though there are signs all over like he has a double ring, and it becomes, and I think it gets a little lazy with how it drops some of this ambiguous exposition, such as him having his filmed wedding ceremony playing on his TV.
Also, he talks about his husband like they're very much in love.
Right.
But he's not here. It's like, okay, so where is he?
Because they're together in one body.
Because they're together.
But these are 2 gay men, so that to me it feels like it, and maybe not on purpose, has a very binary perspective, because the 2 men that come together as one looks like a man, but when a heterosexual couple goes through the same process, they look non-binary.
Well, as a metaphor, it doesn't matter what the resulting figure looks like, but yeah, I mean, I do. My question was, if sex was such a big part of her being unhappy with this relationship, and now they're conjoined, like both, it's not really explained, but the way Jamie kind of says it is like both of their consciousness are in one.
Yeah, and they can see that there's no hiding anymore. All the barriers are broken. It's the ultimate intimacy. But yet it isn't, because you're not, if you're in the same body, there's still external stimulus, because it's still a human being that's going to provoke some kind of desire need to be met.
So I guess I don't understand how that would be satisfying.
Right.
Sexually, but...
And then I would think that this cult would also want to address, what about other people that... It maybe kind of subversively is doubling down on the need for monogamy, which I think could be an interesting reading.
Well, and I took this as being a toxic situation. Like, this transformation is toxic. Like, this cult trying to do this thing, I don't think is like the ultimate expression of love. So in that regard, these questions that we're asking do make sense in that, well, this wouldn't be something you'd want, right? Like,
no, it's a
nightmare.
There's no way for a conscious uncoupling, that's for sure.
So elements that I did like were the sort of things that we learn about these characters outside of the cult. Mm-hmm. Specifically with Dave Franco's character, when they first move into the house, he's very sensitive to smell. Mm-hmm. And he's like, ugh, you don't smell that? No. And he's like, bitch, how could you not smell that? And she's like, I'm peeing. So he goes upstairs and he immediately looks at like a light fixture, grabs a ladder, unscrews it, and pulls out something that is clearly decaying. And it turns out to be the Rat King, like 6 rats fused together.
Yeah.
So, mystery solved. But then, of course, they're not married. She says he's her boy partner.
Yeah.
Because when she first meets Jamie, her colleague / neighbor, actually, he asks, like, are you married? Well, no, but it's so lame to call him my boyfriend. It sounds so juvenile. I guess he's my boy partner, which I also found interesting.
Well, because I think that's the theme about neither of them have really stepped up to make a commitment per se, or if they have, it's kind of at the wrong time.
Right. But she asks him, how did you know to look in that light fixture? How could you possibly know that? And then ultimately he shares the story in 2 parts, but the full story is that when he was younger, his dad kept saying, your room smells, you got to clean it. And he kept cleaning it. And then one day he comes home and the dad found a dead rat in there. So he was familiar with the smell of rotting flesh. But then he later shares that, and I was confused by this story if it's metaphorical or this really happened.
I think it really happened.
So then the story is that Dave Franco's character, his mom and dad, the dad, I guess, died in bed. Mm-hmm. And the mom, it obviously was traumatizing. And from the shock of it, the mom just laid in bed with the dead dad for days. Mm-hmm. So he also shared that smell is also related to the dead dad in bed and the look on his mom's face, which we do see in the film, and it is quite scary.
Yeah, in the bed cover.
Yeah.
Well, because what that's supposed to signify is that an outsider, an objective party to these scenes is automatically confronted with a smell like, how could they live like that? But you slowly but surely become acclimated to a toxic environment. Yes,
so I think those little elements are very effective in this, metaphor of a story.
I agree. That scene with his mother reminded me of Ari Aster, like the beginning of Midsummer.
Yeah. So it's in the trailer, but you see Dave Franco in the shower, and it's that scene where we first learn that he cannot be separated from her. Because they don't have any food in the house, but he's acting weird after he drank the water, right? So it seems like he's having panic attacks. He looks worse for wear. So of course his girl is like, well, I'll go to the store, you go take a shower. And when she gets in the car and drives off, which I really liked how that was filmed, the further she gets away and every turn she makes, his body is flung all around. So that's when it becomes clear, like, oh, these two cannot be apart for long.
Which, was getting into relationship issue, metaphorical films. It doesn't come even close to something like Possession, but of course I thought of that. Or there's in Guadagnino's remake of Suspiria with a body being flung around. It had moments like that.
Speaking of emasculation, Dave Franco's character cannot drive. Mm-hmm. He doesn't even have like a learner's permit, but they lived in the city, so he didn't need to. But now that they're out here, he needs to get to the city again to go to this audition, this very important audition. And Alison Brie saying, I have to work that day. I can just drive you to the train station. Okay, fine. So she drives him, and as soon as she drives off, and this is after the shower scene, he can't take it. And he's already gone to see a doctor, and the doctor has given him Valium, diazepam. So
Now it's diazepam, yeah.
so he can kind of control his body a little bit, but the doctor says you're still going to have the feelings, but you're not going to have the physical response. And this diazepam is very important to the story later on. But I thought the most stressful scene to me is, first off, Dave Franco's at the train station and he can't get on the train because he thinks he's having a panic attack. So now he's missing this very important audition for a job that I think we would agree he needed to have.
Right.
He needed separation from her. He needed to feel like he was succeeding. So now that's already gone. And while that's happening, Alison Brie is at work teaching the kids. And all of a sudden you see Dave Franco roll up to the school like a zombie. And then I'm like, no, she's going to lose her job. So she like grabs him and runs into the bathroom. And this is where it sent me, because he is feeling very sexual towards her. And so they have sex in the boys' bathroom at her like grade school that she teaches in. And they engage in penetrative sex. It doesn't last very long. And when they're done, like a kid, you can tell that a kid has walked in. So she freaks out and she's like, okay, we only have like a minute to get out of here. And we find out that they're stuck. He can't pull himself out of her. And so ultimately they have to rip themselves apart from each other. It's not as graphic as you would. I did want to point out, I don't think this film is like gross out body horror.
No, but it
Like,
definitely it definitely body horror though.
But the trailer makes you think you're going to see really gruesome things. There's a hacksaw scene, like a motorized saw scene where it's very obvious once you know the story that they're going to cut themselves apart, and they do, but it's not as like you don't see it.
No.
And they're only cutting like a flap of forearm skin, so it's not that bad.
It's just a radial circumcision.
And then
Is that the bone in your arm? Is that the radius, the ulna?
Radius and ulna. Yeah. So the bathroom scene, you do see James Franco's penis being stretched, and then you see that she's kind of dripping blood, but it's not as gruesome as you would think.
No.
But then Jamie, the colleague, walks in the bathroom. So of course they're freaking out. Dave Franco jumps on the toilet so they can't see his feet. And of course Jamie, once you learn that he already knows what's going on with them, it's clear that why he didn't push the subject. But in the moment, as the audience, you don't know that he's a part of this cult. He sees that Alison Brie is bleeding. And so then he takes that very sort of standard response, like, oh, woman, menstrual.
What is it, woman problems? Or?
Yeah, like I'm not going to dig into it. But he does see Dave Franco plop down. So we know, and Alison Brie knows that he saw it. So then she goes to try to talk to Jamie at his house. And that's when we learn that he was gay, but it's weird because you don't really explain where this man is who you love so much.
It struck me that it would make a really good double feature with a film by Lynn Ramsey that just premiered at Cannes. It's coming out later this year with Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. Similarly, also about a couple in a kind of a toxic codependent relationship, but also at that moment when you're together long enough where you're trying to navigate what it's like to get over feelings of stagnation. And it's Jennifer Lawrence kind of, and with a young child, losing her mind in this isolated cabin. There are actually a lot of similarities. But this is clearly, more of a genre picture, because it was also giving me Invasion of the Body Snatcher vibes in the scene where she wakes up in the bed and his hair is down her throat. Like what happens to you when you sleep and you don't have control over your body anymore.
I think the message of the film is summed up in a line that we hear twice in the movie.
Which I think was well done, yeah.
Yeah, where they say, if we don't split now, it'll be much harder later. Like literally. Just a couple more things. A funny sort of plot point is they are talking about social media, Facebook specifically. And the reason they're even on Facebook is Dave Franco's trying to research the missing couple. But then they're talking about how lame it is. But Alison Brie's like, but we kind of have to have it because that's how like our families can see what we're up to. And Alison Brie says, can you make sure my last post says BRB dying? I thought that was funny.
And that also allows for something that was overly convenient is Franco's fascinated with the missing couple, and that's where we get the dogs. The dogs are part of that search party looking for the couple in the beginning, and he looks at the coding on one of the Facebook pictures,
the geolocation,
and it's like none of the people that were searching for them thought of that.
Sure. So some areas were like maybe could have been left out or made even more ambiguous, and I think I would have been more interested in. So at the very end, we hear early on that, Alice and Brie saying my parents are going to come visit us on Sunday for lunch. So that's looming in the background throughout the events. It seems like the film takes place over like 3 days or something. So in the end, the parents show up. And as the audience, we've already seen these two join. Like they literally decide to get naked and just give in to it.
Well, because if they don't, she's going to die because she's bleeding out.
So we see them join and it looks like, something creepy. So, of course, when the parents come and ring the bell, and the bell ends up being the same bell that we see at Jamie's house and the same bell that the cult used throughout the woods.
Got to watch out for them bells.
When the door is open, we see this like amalgamation of the two actors. But I think what would have been interesting is maybe some conversation about how the parents have stayed together so long. Like they've been able to do it and not...
Yeah, and still remain separate individual selves. Like it is possible, people. You don't have to drink from the cool waters of Darien Lake.
And then for people who like Spice Girls, a cute little moment is that, although it's a little heavy-handed or obvious, is that we find out that, because Dave Franco's character is a serious musician, but when he started dating Alison Brie, she told him her favorite or first album was the Spice Girls, Spice, their first album. So he bought it for her on vinyl, and that made her feel like he understood her and like she thought it was lovely. So
and they have a nice bonding moment over remembering that too.
Yeah, so in the end when they're fusing together, or they decide to fuse together, Dave Franco takes out that Spice Girls vinyl and puts on their song To Become One, and they start sort of joining to that song, which
I like. But again, it's a film that hasn't gotten to the height where that it's deliriously insane, as in something like when the monster at the end of The Substance.
Yeah, I kept thinking The Substance that we were going to get something as bombastic as that.
Yes, but
this is much more reserved.
That Spice Girls moment should have hit it should have hit a lot harder. But it doesn't quite do it. And they're a real life couple. I think Alison Brie does quite well in this. I found Franco a bit shrill.
I found him shrill as well.
Trying too hard sometimes to seem melancholic.
Yeah.
But fine, there's nothing wrong with it. It just at times was personally grating to my senses. I would have loved to see this scenario with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton.
Oh, God. I like this film in the same chapter that I like The Substance. I think The Substance is a better film.
I do too.
Yeah, I think if like this can live in that same space.
Yeah, and especially for a first film, there's a lot to like about it. I think the scoring is good. Cornell Wilczek, who scored the two films from the Philippou brothers, Talk to Me and Bring Her Back, and also Apple Cider Vinegar, which you have seen. So I think technically there's actually nothing wrong with it. It's just, I think I wanted more and sometimes less in some of where it's going, but an impressive debut.
What would you give Together?
3.
I think it's very good. I would give it 3.5 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.